Okay, so in today's video, we're going to be doing an HR diagram mind map. So basically putting down in words and in one spot how the HR diagram is all connected and how and why it is set up the way that it is. So first, we are going to take this mind map and we are going to title it HR diagram. Oops. So this is our HR diagram. All right. So I'm going to move upwards and then move back down for that information. So one of the main components of the HR diagram is that it shows luminosity. Oh no, I erased. So luminosity right here. This is also known as the brightness of the star. So how bright it is in the sky compared to other stars. All right, so that's what I'm going to put right here. How bright a star is called luminosity. So there are three kind of main areas of brightness. So the first one is the main sequence, which about 90% of the stars are in the main sequence. Oops, let me make this a little bit separated because there are two words. So main sequence stars have a range of luminosity. So this means they have bright stars, they have dimmer stars. Remember, the main sequence is the biggest part of the HR diagram, and it spans across the whole thing. So you have great variation there. So we'll move over here to this purple area. So you have the main sequence, and now we're going to talk about dwarfs. So our dwarf stars are always lower in luminosity. So we're going to put is lower in luminosity, so they're not as bright. We will also refer to these as the dimmer stars because they are stars that are closer to dying. So they're losing that light. They're not as bright and they're going to be smaller. That's why we call them dwarves. Right? So that's the bottom of the luminosity, the middle of the luminosity, which is our main sequence. And now we're going to go to the big guys over here. So the ones that have a greater luminosity or are brighter, those are called giants. All right. So giants have more luminosity. So they're bigger and brighter. So these are going to be at the top of the HR diagram. And I also try to put it in a sequence how the dim stars are kind of lower on this mind map. The main sequence stars are in the middle because they have huge range, and then the middle of the HR diagram. And the dwarfs I put more in the top corner because the giants I put in the top corner because that's where they will be on the HR diagram. So the way they are positioned on this mind map matches how they are positioned on an HR diagram. So now that we talked about luminosity, we're going to talk about the other portion of the HR diagram, which is temperatures. So In the HR diagram, kelvins are actually the unit that we use to describe the temperatures. So here on Earth we use, for the most part, Fahrenheit and Celsius, but with things like this, we're going to call them kelvins. So kelvins measure, stick that right here, temperature. All right, so we're going to drop down to this other box, because just like how brightness varies in the main sequence, temperatures vary in the main sequence. Main. And also notice how I wrote both of these in that yellow color. That's because both of these are the main sequence, and they both vary in both luminosity and in temperature. So in the main sequence, this is also where our sun is. So we're going to write the sun in the box because our main sequence is where our sun is. And it is in the middle of it. So we're going to put the sun is in the middle of main So this being said, it is average temperature because it's in the middle of the main sequence, and it is also average luminosity because it is in the middle of the main sequence. So what's pretty significant and different about the temperatures and the colors of the stars are that in the HR diagram, the blue stars are hotter and the red stars are cooler. So that's why these colors are also colored. We'll get to that in a second. But in the main sequence, once again, since it is a huge chunk, your hot stars are going to be on that side, on the left side of the main sequence, and your cooler stars are going to be on the right side. Oops, let me write cooler, not hot. And that is just like what we're about to hop into right here. So, main sequence varies. So the hotter, moving over to this blue, the hotter stars are blue color and are going to be on the left of the diagram. And the cooler stars, so keep trying to erase. The cooler stars are red, and they are on the right of the diagram. So just remember, it's opposite of what we normally associate with temperatures based on color. So we think red is hotter and blue is cooler. Well, in the HR diagram in stars, red is cooler and blue is hotter. And also, whenever you get the HR diagram, it's going to show that the hotter temperatures are on the left of the diagram and the cooler temperatures are on the right. Just like the giants are on the right of the diagram and the dwarfs are on the left of the diagram. I tried to make this whole mind map match what the HR diagram will show you and how it's laid out. So, to go over that, HR diagram shows two important things: luminosity, or how bright a star is, and temperature. The main sequence is in the middle of the HR diagram, so that's why it's in the middle of our mind map, because they both vary in luminosity and temperature. So those span all the way across your HR diagram. Now, the more specialized stars are going to be on the left side and the right side. So dwarf stars are lower in luminosity, and they'll be on the left side. And they are hotter in temperature, which is also on the left side. So these two are connected. And then on the right side of it, the giants are on the top right of the diagram because they are bigger and brighter. And they also tend to be cooler in temperature. So they are on the red side of it, which is also on the right side. So all of this is positioned to help you try and remember. And I will also put kind of a line in the middle to show that these are connected, just like the main sequence in the middle is connected. I hope this helps.